please go ahead and put your critical thinking caps on. All right, thank you. I go ahead and put my critical thinking mask and helmet on. All right, so now that we're strapped in, let's talk about the history of mind control experiments in the USA. We're going to take a deep dive into America's secret history of human and mind control experiments and how they're now being used on the public today. First, I'm going to share with you the history of mind control experiments and touch on some fringe ideas and theories along the way. Theories such as Manchurian candidates, cults, microchips, and V2K technology. And lastly, we're going to talk about how these mind control experiments have evolved along the way and how they are now being used in modern times. All right. So, during the Cold War era, out of fear that communist regimes had developed brainwashing techniques, Project MK Ultra was born. It was approved in 1953 by CIA Director Alan Dulles and overseen by chemist Sidney Gottlieb. Its main goal was to find ways to control or influence human behavior to create serial killers, spies, informants, and agent provocateurs. These secret studies involved illegal human experimentation, often without consent. Techniques like electroshock therapy, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and high doses of LSD intakes were among the most used. These experiments secretly ran from the 1950s and officially ran until the 1960s, but there were many other sub-projects that followed its initial disbandment. Project MK Ultra was finally publicly exposed in 1975 during the church community hearings, but much of the evidence had already been destroyed. All right. So now that we've covered some of this history, let's talk about some of the strange and spooky incidents and some of the unsavory characters speculated and or confirmed to be a part of these secret experiments. I know that many of us have heard of Charles Manson. Some of us may have even heard about JFK, Lee Harvey Oswald, and the assassination, right? Some of us have heard of Jim Jones and Jonestown Massacre. Well, according to Tom O'Neill and his book, Chaos, Charles Manson, the CIA, and the Secret History of the 60s, they were all CIA assets, and their cults were ran and supported and or funded by a shady government agency, aka the CIA. He also claims that Lee Harvey Oswald was nothing but a mere patsy programmed to kill with no recollection of his actions, a Manchurian candidate. But these guys are not who I want to focus on today. I want to talk about someone most have not heard of, but was crucial to the transition of the Mexican mafia from a revolutionary prison group to a criminal organization. I want to talk about Ramon Mundo Mendoza. According to investigative journalist YouTube The Outlaw News, Ramon Mundo Mendoza was born in Los Angeles in 1949. Mundo went from altar boy to hitman, as he likes to say. But how exactly did this happen? He was initially incarcerated for the murder of a rival gang member named Bobby Loco. Mundo began to climb the ranks of the prison gang underworld. And up until this point, most of his prison history was non-violent. According to the Outlaw News and his own biopic, Mundo, released in 2018, in 1972, Mundo was selected by prison staff to participate in a secret government experiment at Vacaville's prison Lister unit. Upon his release, Mundo began his reign of terror on the streets. He had officially been programmed to snitch and programmed to kill. He began murdering fellow Mexican mafia members who wanted to steer the gangs into a more positive direction. According to John Hammerly's 1977 article titled Inside the Mexican Mafia in the New West magazine, rogue federal informant Eddie Sailorboy Gonzalez claims that under the orders of undercover prison snitch Joe Morgan, him and Mundo began killing members like Elmo Duran, and ultimately they admitted to more than 10 plus murders, with many of the other murders left unsolved. They both became protected federal informants. This was later revealed that the experiments going on at the Vacaville's Lister unit was actually a government experiment directly linked to the CIA's MK Ultra project. Had Mundo been brainwashed during his time at Vacaville, not only does he claim to have killed over 20 people, which checks off the check mark for serial killer, he's also testified against his former criminal organization, making him a high-level informant. He has directed others to kill, including his younger brother. That could qualify him as a cult leader. And he claims to have been the one to start the infamous prison war that split the Mexican gangs into two warring factions, an agent provocateur. He seems to check off all of the things that the CIA wanted with this project. Well, today, MK Ultra test dummies and program serial killers like Mundo Mendoza routinely make the rounds on podcasts all over the internet, making money glamorizing their past exploits and giving insights into gang life and prison. And this is exactly how the government agencies are now operating covert psyops on the entire country. That's right. The CIA now uses social media and music to influence and sway public opinion more than ever. According to an article in the Mint Press website, in 2024, the grant publications of NED, the National Endowment for Democracy, shows that the CIA is actively trying to infiltrate the Cuban music scene, specifically the Caribbean nation's hip-hop scene. Hip-hop artists like Yo 12 released a song criticizing Cuban government and led an anti-government protest trying to stir up political unrest on the island. NED co-founder once said, "A lot of what we do now was done in secret by the CIA 25 years ago. It is said that the agency doesn't focus on mind-altering drugs so much anymore, but on social media and on highly advanced technology like microchips." Around 1995, a paper began circulating among members of the American Indian movement that claimed that prisoners at Pelican Bay SHU had unwittingly been implanted with a chip in their brain to control their thoughts and behavior. Notorious Mexican mafia members like Tupi Hernandez claim to have been a victim of this voice-to-skull technology, and even started an online petition in the early 2000s to stop this illegal experiments on prisoners. You can see his case file in Hernandez versus Terhune. He eventually lost his mind and died of liver failure while incarcerated. So what have we learned today? We took a deep dive into America's secret history of covert mind control experiments and how they're now being used on the public today. First, I took you on a trip down the rabbit hole. We learned all about America's secret history of human and covert mind control experiments, and then we spoke of some of the incidents and characters linked to this operation. And finally, I explained how these mind control techniques have evolved from mind-altering drugs and cults to brain implants and social media influencers, and how these psychological operations are being used on the public today. Remember, there's a war out for your mind.